In a small town in Texas, specifically in Grand Prairie, a young boy named Darrell Lance Abbott began to hold on to a dream that would one day change the world of music. His childhood was filled with the scent of music, coming from both of his parents. Although his parents divorced in 1979 after 17 years of marriage, Darrell and his brother Vinny grew up in an atmosphere full of love and support, especially from their mother, Carolyn. They lived in a modest ranch-style house in Arlington, where Darrell's creativity began to blossom. Dimebag Darrell first discovered the guitar at the age of 12, when he received a Les Paul-style Hondo guitar and a Pignose amplifier as a birthday gift. From that moment on, music became an inseparable part of his life. Inspired by Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Kiss, and Van Halen, young Darrell often spent hours in his room standing in front of a mirror, wearing makeup like Ace Frehley, even though he didn't yet know how to play the guitar. His mother fully supported his passion for music, and although their father, Jerry, lived separately, Darrell often rode his bike through the streets of Arlington to visit him, learning guitar and soaking up musical knowledge from a father rich in experience. His brother Vinnie Paul, who had started playing drums earlier, initially forbade Darrell from touching his instrument, until the two eventually began practicing together. Their first jam session lasted 6 hours, playing the legendary song "Smoke on the Water." From that moment, the musical chemistry between the two brothers was born, inspired by the duo Eddie and Alex Van Halen. Darrell also learned from local country musicians who recorded at his father's studio, including Bugs Henderson, whose influence helped shape his guitar technique. At the age of 14, Darrell finally gathered the courage to perform in a guitar contest at the Agora Ballroom in Dallas, which was attended by Dean Zielinski, the founder of Dean Guitars. Though he was technically too young to enter the club, his mother faithfully accompanied him. His performance amazed the judges. Zielinski even admitted that Darrell blew everyone away. Darrell went on to win so many competitions that he was eventually asked to stop entering and instead serve as a judge, since no other contestants could match his skill. At first, Vinny was invited to join a band formed by his school friends, Terry Glaze, Tommy Bradford, and Donnie Hart, but he refused unless his younger brother could join too. Although the others were hesitant at first, due to Darrell's young age and still developing guitar skills, they eventually agreed. In the early days, Pantera adopted a glam metal style, performing on stage in tight spandex, flashy makeup, and hairspray-filled hair, following the metal trends of the early 1980s. The band soon signed with Metal Magic Records, a small label founded by their father, Jerry Abbott, who also served as the band's manager and producer. In 1983, when Dimebag Darrell was only 16 years old, Pantera released their debut album, Metal Magic. The album showcased Darrell's emerging signature style, energetic, fast, and melodic. A review in Buddy magazine noted that Darrell's guitar solos didn't follow classical theory, but instead expressed the authentic ideas of a young player who knew exactly what he wanted to hear from his guitar. However, a major change began to take shape in the mid-1980s. After releasing 2 more albums, Projects in the Jungle and I Am the Night, the Abbott brothers grew tired of the fading glam scene. They fell in love with a heavier sound, influenced by Metallica, Slayer, and the rising thrash metal movement. Darrell, in particular, was deeply inspired by Metallica's Ride the Lightning, which pushed him to seek a more aggressive and honest musical identity. This shift in direction caused internal conflict within the band. Vocalist Terry Glaze disagreed with Dimebag and Vinny's vision to steer Pantera toward a heavier sound, and he eventually left the band in 1986, leaving the vocalist position open. After trying out several singers, Pantera finally found the perfect fit, Phil Anselmo, who joined later that same year. They released Power Metal, 1988, a transitional album that bridged their glam roots and their evolving heavier sound. Some major labels tried to persuade them to adopt a more commercial sound, similar to Bon Jovi, but Dimebag refused outright. He knew exactly where he wanted to go, to create a pure, powerful, technical, and uncompromising form of metal. 1990 became a turning point in Dimebag Darrell's career. Pantera released Cowboys from Hell, an album that not only introduced their signature sound to the world, but also established Dimebag as the gravitational center of the band. With producer Terry Date behind the console, the album featured a style they described as power groove, a fusion of thrash metal's aggression and slower, heavier rhythms. Dimebag's riffs became the soul of the album, charged with energy, groove, and a distinct character that had never been heard before in metal. Cowboys from Hell later achieved gold certification in 1993 and platinum in 1997, marking Pantera's rise as one of the biggest metal bands of the decade. His reputation as a wild yet brilliant guitarist continued to grow. But Dimebag didn't stop there. In 1992, Pantera released Vulgar Display of Power, which took them to an even higher level. Dimebag composed most of the riffs and song structures for the album, aiming to create what he described as one giant note with bassist Rex Brown, giving Pantera a denser, more brutal sound than ever before. Eventually, Rolling Stone recognized the album as one of the 100 greatest metal albums of all time. During this period, Dimebag Darrell also underwent a transformation in image, sporting a dyed goatee, a razor blade necklace inspired by Judas Priest's British Steel, cargo shorts, and sleeveless shirts, cementing his status as a new icon in the metal world. Dimebag's success reached its peak in 1994 with the release of Far Beyond Driven. The album not only confirmed Pantera's domination, but also made history by debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200, an unprecedented feat for an album that heavy. Selling over 186,000 copies in its first week, it symbolized Dimebag and his bandmates' triumph in conquering the world without ever compromising their musical integrity. In a 1994 interview, Dimebag Darrell emphasized that he and Pantera had no intention of softening their sound over time, unlike many other bands. Instead, he declared their commitment to keep evolving, to grow heavier, bolder, and truer to their musical identity.
Dimebag Darrell was known not only as an extraordinary guitarist, but also as a warm and friendly person off stage. He grew up in the same neighborhood as his longtime partner, Rita Haney, whom he had known since the age of 8. Their bond blossomed into a lifelong love story. The couple began dating in 1984, but they chose never to marry. In a 2006 interview, Rita said they didn't need a middleman to legalize love. As for them, true commitment came from the heart, not from a piece of paper. In 1995, Dimebag Darrell and Rita Haney bought a house in Dalworthington Gardens, Texas, just a few minutes from his hometown of Arlington. The house wasn't just a place to live, it was a vivid reflection of Dimebag's colorful personality, laid back, warm, and filled with the soul of a true musician. The structure had a Southern colonial style, with a large roof and wide porch that created the calm, rustic atmosphere typical of Texas countryside homes. But once you stepped inside, it became Dimebag's world. Every room expressed his passion for music and his zest for life. In his recreation room stood a pool table and Kiss pinball machines, one of his favorite collections. The walls were covered with Kiss posters and memorabilia, paying tribute to the band that had inspired him since childhood. One special room displayed his beloved guitar collection, from his signature Dean ML models to rare limited edition guitars he had gathered over the years. The house also featured a private recording studio, where he created musical ideas that would later become essential parts of his career. Neighbors remembered Dimebag Darrell as a friendly, humble man who radiated positive energy wherever he went. Despite being a legendary guitarist who amazed the world with his onstage brilliance, in everyday life he remained a down-to-earth guy, a country boy with a cool attitude, as many around him used to say. For those who ever met him, Dimebag had a special way of making people feel instantly at ease, as if they had been friends for years. He never put himself above others and always made sure everyone left with a smile and an unforgettable memory. There was never a dull moment. There was always something going on, just endless laughter, recalled Anthrax drummer Charlie Benante in an interview with Billboard.com. Dimebag was the kind of person who could turn a bad day into an amazing one just by being there. As a devoted Kiss fan, Dimebag Darrell was laid to rest in a Kiss casket, a special coffin personally given to him by Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley as a tribute from his childhood idols. Inside the coffin was also placed his beloved Dean from Hell guitar, which had become a symbol of his playing style and unique personality. Dimebag Darrell tragically drew his final breath on December 8, 2004, while performing with his band Damage Plan at the Al Rosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio, leaving the metal world and millions of fans across the globe in deep mourning. Dimebag Darrell's legacy continues to live on powerfully in the hearts of fans and musicians worldwide. He was posthumously honored with an induction into the Hollywood Rock Walk, and every year his name is celebrated at Dime Bash, a tribute concert whose proceeds go to charity. Musicians from multiple generations participate in these events as a show of respect for his dedication to the world of metal. Major magazines and media outlets have consistently ranked him among the greatest guitarists of all time, praising his wild yet groovy playing style and his ability to forge a new identity from modern metal. Fellow musicians remember him as a humble, original, and deeply influential figure, a legend who not only transformed the sound of metal guitar, but also the spirit behind it.